Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where apparently Aina and Adder are going to have some alone time, and so are, what was her name? Eka, right? Eka and Sepp, and for some reason, oh, the name is right there. So yeah, Eka and Sepp are going to have some alone time too, and for some reason, Eka thinks that Sepp is her dad.
How dare you propose something so reckless! I will not leave these salacious whippersnappers alone in a room without supervision!
Yeah, I thought as much. Well, don't have too much fun without me.
And Sepp is playing the role there.
Seriously, don't. We're trying to keep it down. Secret mission and all. Good talk. Catch you later.
Eka closed, repositioned the door after shepherding everyone into the brig. The storage room remained at a standstill until the wolves started barking loudly and partying again in their bedroom. Aina and Otter finally crossed gazes once more. Uncertainty shook her to the core. She couldn't even start to guess what was going through his mind now that they were alone together at last. I mean, Sepp is there too, you know? Before Aina could even start to gesture anything, Otter leapt towards her and nearly tackled her to the ground.
Boss! I really thought I never could see you again. You missed so much stuff. I got hanged 4 times, but I survived. Then I got a trial, and I could read while I was in the maze, and we won. So Elbow tried to kill me, and please tell me the Beast Pirate lady wrote the note to Barabbas, and she got you all confused with a different Aina.
Aina pushed Otter away, way more aggressively than she needed to.
Right, sorry. I know you can't tell me any of that, but you can let me know that much at least, yeah? You've never ever seen those folks before?
Aina scratched the back of her hair, looking anywhere but at Adder. She finally shook her head.
Wow, that's convincing.
Aina's lip curled upwards into a snarl.
Oh, what a wonderful row of amazingly sharp teeth. Very ruminant-like. I can't even start to imagine where the confusion came from.
Aina's teeth are Aina's teeth, and they got nothing to do with anything right now. All that matters is that we're together now, and we're an unstoppable duo. Nay, trio. Brains, brawns, and backbone.
Which one were you again?
Listen here, Missy. I don't know where we are, and I don't know what's gonna happen to us. But we may be the last sad chance the city got left in surviving a beast invasion no more. Nothing will stand in our way if we decide to become heroes today.
Both Sepp and Aina turned around to glare at Otter.
Or not. Maybe not. Way to make it better yourself, Adder. What I meant to say is that as long as we ain't dead...
No, you're right. I wasn't thinking straight. We're all going to die.
No, let's not.
I'm going to die. You're going to die. And she's going to bite our tails off when we're not looking. Oh, you're too good to eat me, are you? I'll have you know that I'm delicious, you feral heap of...
The voices in the other room stopped for a second.
Patron, stop! I swear I meant nothing with your daughter.
I say, you're the most useless deer I've seen in my life. Obstreperous venison!
The silence continued for a couple of seconds. Soon, the laughter and cheering started over again.
All right, everyone. I know this is going to sound real rich coming from me, but we got to calm down. Deep breaths. Use them lungs. Come on, boss. You too. Get those chompers over here if you gotta. No one's eating no one. No one's gonna die.
I'm going to die.
In your comfy bed, when you're old and wrinkled, surrounded by a herd of bulky, bumbling stags wearing itty-bitty clothes.
Will you be there?
Aw.
I will. I'll be the one holding up your pastries platter.
And will you cry?
A whole darn river. Gonna drown everyone in the room. They'll think all that water's what got your tum so round.
Said the deer with the bloated hands. I hate you so much.
Look at that, patron. You sound just like the real deal.
Adder and Sep shared a giggle together as they rested their foreheads against each other. The peaceful moment wasn't meant to last, of course. A sharp, perforating pain in Adder's forearm reminded him that there was a third person in the room. Yeah, I bet Aina's feeling a bit left out. Aina pointed at Sep, then at Adder. She folded her arms as her glare deepened and the drumming of her foot quickened, leaving little room for interpretation.
Right. We're all missing some introductions here, ain't we? Boss, this is Yusuf. Sep, this is Aina. I know you both, and I guess you already knew each other, too.
Both Sep and Aina looked at each other, confused.
You don't recognize her?
I did put together that she's the green-haired albino doe you talk about so much, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, but, Sep? In your memories?
No, I saw it in your diary. It turns out Aina was your friend as a kid, but back then Aina's hair was really long and white, and she looked kind of dopey. And this is all before your mom died, and
Adder stopped talking for a second. It was only then that he realized just how much he knew. Should we, come clean about everything? Let's.
Then you ran away from home, and Eligrab sent you to talk to the patron, because it turns out you three were all kind of cursed. And that's when he, took your memories away.
He what? What do you mean Pertok took my No, gods have mercy, don't answer that. Whatever it is you found out, we can't afford to waste that kind of time right now.
Sep sank her fingers deep into her arms, trying to take her mind away from the thought. Her emotions had morphed into something mildly manageable by the time she finally dared to look down at Aina's increasingly confused visage.
Yes, I remember you. Tasena, daughter of Pertok. Different as you look. Though it's clear to see you remain entirely too much of a cold-hearted beast to return the favor.
It ain't her fault you're cursed. You don't need to get ugly with her.
When I want your opinion on anyone's part on the downfall of my life, I will ask for it.
You gonna take it out on me now?
You're the expert on myself. You'd know best.
Adder opened his mouth to reply. Knowing that not a single wise word would come out, he closed it and let Sep wander off towards her emotional shelter in the hammock. Aina sent a worried look in Sep's direction and then in his.
Sorry, boss. It's a very long story. I promise I'll fill you in when we got a minute, okay?
The look he got told him that Aina didn't believe that for 1 second, but it was enough for now.
So what's our next step then?
Huh? Why are you asking me? I'm still on plan duty?
Who do you want me to ask? The double agent?
Aina would have defended herself from the accusation, but she didn't know what that turn of phrase meant.
Right. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'd rather be just about anywhere else in Doc now right now. What do you say we jump ship and let Sleeping Beast party?
I say I'd love to share your optimism, but that's an idea, not a plan. I've already searched the brig from top to bottom. There's no way out from here, and I have no intention to arouse anyone's hunger walking back into the dining room.
3 heads think better than 1, yeah? I'm sure if we just racked our brains a little.
One of Ika's underlings will have time to check up on us while she pretends to be asleep. This is the real world, Adderson. We can't afford ourselves eternal time to come up with inanities.
Why not? Let's go back into your thoughts while we come up with something half smart then.
I don't know how I did that, and I don't even know how I could ever hope to do it again having you around me constantly trying my
Their cavillation was cut short by a small explosion of bone-like splinters and the sound of something falling into the water shortly after.
What the? Boss! Hey! Where are you going? Don't just... And she's gone.
Case in point, we're dead.
Hey, what part of keep it down didn't you understand? Wow. Okay. I'm going to guess the hole in the wall was just made by...
The artist behind Hole in the Brig #1.
Yeah, that tracks. Man, I really thought I was finally getting through to her. Why'd you go and run like that now, huh?
Adder turned a desperate glare towards his patron.
How should I know? She's an unrepentant gobbler, and she never tells us a thing.
It's a mystery.
Whatever. We'll just have to go fetch her again. Any excuse is good to make my littermates stretch their legs and sniff every corner of the city. Bones, grab a mop and clean up this mess. And the shell, since you're at it. I want to see it sparkling when I'm back.
Clean a mess and look after your paw. Piece of cake. Aye, Captain.
You what?
You got it, ma'am?
He thinks I'm his mom. I seriously can't get enough words from you. Hey, tell me about this cake thing when we're back. I want a piece too.
Neither of the 2 people remaining in the ship dared to breathe again until there was nothing but silence deep into the darkness beyond the gap. It was almost nice like this, really. You just had to forget the sight of the beasts, the constant humidity, and the stomach-churning miasma seeping into the room that made both of them cover their faces and retreat into the dining room immediately. After a few moments trying to breathe in relatively fresh air, and not whatever that was, Adder opened his mouth to do more than cough.
She did it on purpose.
Excuse me?
Aina didn't just run away because she felt overwhelmed. She caused a huge distraction for us because she knew the beast would follow her. I'm sure that's it. Oh, how come I didn't get that earlier? She's so clever.
Sepp gawked at the boy. Words failed her.
You know, Adder, I really feel like this whole ordeal has given me precious insight on how you managed to have such a lovely extra-laboral relationship with your boss. It can't be easy having to share half a wit between 2 people.
She managed to solve the beast problem for us, didn't she? That's one more thing that you've done.
Taking a very determined decision not to pay any heed to whatever Sepp said next, Adder took a deep breath and ran into the brig. His companion barely dared peek in. After a few moments rummaging through all the items in the storage room, Adder finally settled for the mop. That is, the stick with a bunch of fur attached to its end that only conceptually resembled a mop, as Agazaurians understood them, and rushed right back.
Please tell me that thing is the weapon of our murder-suicide and you're not about to wipe the floor with it.
I'm trying something here. We could turn to violence if this don't work.
Well, as long as you're open to it.
Adder scurried back out. Sepp observed, as the boy leaned out of the new gap left on the wall after Eina's escape, doing his best to avoid breathing in a single puff of air or dragging his neck through the splinters. Once out, he stuck the stick as far as he could down into the space below them.
These ain't exactly what they call shallow waters where I'm from, but I reckon we're both tall enough for 'em.
As Adder pulled out the bizarre wolf tool, he realized that the water dripping from it was particularly slimy. Adder moved his snout a bit closer to the end of the mop, following a deep-seated instinct to sniff out every unknown particle he stumbled upon. Seb could only gag from afar. He put the mop down and snorted all the air out of his lungs.
Fancy a guess where they took us?
Before Seb could reach out to stop him, Adder jumped out of the boat and into the water.
Shit.
Kinda. But hey, look at it from the bright.
Find me a silver lining, Adderson. Find me one, and I swear that I'm going down there just to show you where you can stick that mop.
I was just gonna say, the water only reaches up to my knees. And anyway, you were the one who said you'd rather take a bath in the sewers than put a finger on me again.
It's called hyperbole. You should know that as you're extremely well versed in it.
Oh, well darn, thank you.
Defeated by her own pettiness, her limited options, and Adder's lack of vocabulary, Seb carefully slid herself off the edge of the brig and into the cloudy waters. She stood very still for a minute, no doubt appreciating the way her boots, pants, and shirt were unable to filter out any water.
I thought you said it only reached up to your knees.
Yeah, my knees. Careful now. Wouldn't want to trip here.
Adder walked a couple of steps ahead into the darkness, trying to encourage Seb to do the same. Seb took a deep breath she promptly regretted, and then a single step forward. Something squeaked under her foot, slithered away, and made Seb slide and fall on her butt, causing a new splash.
Congratulations, Adder. You finally dragged me down to your level.
Come now. You know this is still a couple of pegs below me. I ain't been avoiding your big bro's generous offers this long for nothing.
Oh, you figured that out.
Adder stretched a hand out towards Seb, which she took reluctantly. Then he helped her feel her way towards the sidewalk. Both Seb and Adder looked down at the cause of her misstep. It was a vine as thick as a tree root, a wiggling tree root, or more like a whole thicket of them. They both followed the sight upwards towards their origin, the ship. Bright golden dots flickered over them like a constellation, a congregation of fungi, most likely. But this was not the moment to leave a single possibility up to chance. Another pair of radiant spheres joined the scene, this time right beside Adder. The sky blue eyes shining in the dark nearly gave him a cardiac arrest, familiar as they were.
Quiet.
An orange glow followed after, radiating from Seb's palms. The light grew in intensity until it seemed like a torch, pointed directly at the heights they just jumped from. That was no ship. Eina had somehow managed to punch through a gigantic snail's oval shell, reinforced with some kind of reddish metal on the outside, and bedecked with cages, grills, and flags. Hundreds of slithering vine-like appendages spread out from the depths of the shell, blocking the sewage tunnel behind it.
What is that?
I don't know, but I guess we ain't going that way.
As if sensing an ill will of some kind, or perhaps just attracted to the light, the cluster of eyes turned towards the couple of escapees. Sepp and Adder found themselves frozen at the sight. The living ship started crawling towards them, vines bunched up like little feet, soaking what little water they could find to propel itself through the tunnel. First awkwardly and heavily, and then faster, faster, faster. Now it was inches away, giving them a clear sight of its hoofed mouth. The creature threw its vines back, launching itself towards the ruminants, only to have its momentum cut dead short, stopped by two thick metal anchors tying it in place. Their story may have very well ended here if it had managed to advance just a couple of paces further. No matter how much it lashed its vines around, trying to reach the deer and the gazelle, its efforts were in vain. Adder had already lifted Sepp on his arms and started running downstream, much farther than the snail could ever hope to reach them. They rushed away, praying to every god above them that the creature wouldn't think to give them chase again. Though it had been a long while since the initial scare had passed, Adder and Sepp's hands remained firmly intertwined. Neither of them would be negligent enough to bring this up, of course. Adder let his eye linger over the thin strips of light that illuminated the sewers as they walked, doing his best to keep any beasts, mollusks, and past relationships that he hoped to rekindle out of his mind.
You wouldn't happen to have a map of the sewers somewhere in your mind, would you?
Yes, Adder. Studying public sanitary infrastructure layouts is just my idea of an entertaining second night.
Was that supposed to be sarcasm?
It mostly was, okay?
Nerd!
Lynn, you're in no position to laugh. Ha, nerd. Sepp took a deep breath, reminding herself that her hobbies weren't under much scrutiny when it came to a dork. Oh, she's got a new nickname for Adder.
This is mere speculation, but judging from the speed at which the water is flowing and how they managed to sneak a thing that size under the city without flooding a whole district, I'd wager we can't be too far from the sea.
Hold up! What? That's where all the crap goes in heirloom? What do y'all use to breed your fields then?
Is it truly indispensable to you that we speak about manure while we're waddling through it?
I'm just saying, I'm starting to see why nothing grows around these parts. Back in my town, we just take a basin and...
Not another word on the subject.
Her words echoed through the tunnels, making the intervention all the more dramatic. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Sepp counted to herself the seconds before Adder would open his mouth again. The count ended at 6 3/4.
So, speaking about sewer stuff, T-lid, huh? Talk about family resemblances. Wowee.
What is that supposed to mean?
Nothing. I'm just saying y'all threatened to kill me twice per sentence, but I would have never guessed y'all were brother and sister when Miss Rochelle threatened me that one time.
That's because it's supposed to be a secret, like so many things you keep digging up.
Why?
What do you mean, why? It's obvious, isn't it? Mr. Tay-Tay is too important to let his reputation be tarnished for being related to a hobo and a whore.
Sep, I'd never let anyone call you a hobo.
Dumbass.
1, 2, not even 3 seconds of peace this time.
I mean, what reputation are we even talking about? You ever hear the stories of the things that happen down here?
Only the ones tangentially related to me, but I'm positive I can't stop you from sharing.
See, me and Gilf toured the place a couple of times when things were real bad. Dead folk don't miss coins, or so he says.
You sound disgustingly okay with that.
Can't get queasy handling corpses when you're about to become one, ma'am. Besides, most of them come fresh out of the arena. It's gotta be somewhere around here. That's where them noble types like to bet in secret. The poor fighters that give it a go end up rich or dead. Mostly dead. All the nasty stuff is Taylor's turf, but there's lots more to this place. There's houses and markets and doctors and all sorts of folks who'd rather live in the dark than risk getting caught in the daylight again. I even heard some say they've seen beasts down here.
I suppose we can cross that one off the rumor list.
A sudden clank on the ceiling made Sep flail her incandescent hand around in a panic, nearly slamming it into Adder's face.
Hey! Careful with that thing!
It's called a hand, though I guess I can't really blame you for not knowing what one normally looks like.
Sep pried her non-glowing hand away sharply from Adder's grasp, making sure to leave quite a bit of space between them. Adder stood behind, suddenly paralyzed by the urgency to run after her and the confidence that it wouldn't ultimately solve anything. So he only moved his mouth instead.
You still mad at me?
Mad? I mean, do I look mad to you? Why are you even asking me? You're the one who spent an eternity scavenging for scraps of weakness. You'd know.
Look, we've been doing the whole I insult you, you insult me worse thing all day long. And I get it. There's a whole lot of stuff going on all the time. But I thought we'd cleared things up a little, at least. I've had a lot of time to think today. And I figured, I don't know what's going to happen next. But if we ran into a beast right now, I wouldn't want things to end like this. Why don't we give the good old honest heart-to-heart a try? Just this once.
Sep stopped walking. She turned and looked the deer in the eye with a very unconvincing attempt at a challenging expression.
I don't know, Adder. Can you be honest?
I'll do my best. I just want to talk to you again, like we used to.
Adder squeezed Sep's hand within his own once more. It was more like her whole forearm, but she understood the gesture nonetheless.
I could be taking a warm-scented bath right now. I could be soaking my hooves in orange blossoms, safe in my reassurance that your story had run its course. You would be nothing more than a footnote in my diary tonight, if I still had it.
But instead you saved me.
But you found it in that heart of gold of yours to save me and give me a second chance.
Okay, first of all, this is not a second chance. We are not an item, Adderson.
Yeah, we never were.
And secondly, I didn't save you. I was saving myself.
Yep, we've been through this too. You're a petty asshole and you got a block of ice for a heart.
What? What's your problem?
Oh, you didn't like that, huh? Well, that's what it sounds like when you talk about yourself, Majesty.
I wouldn't quite go so far. I do not sound like... Can we go back to when you were scared of saying a word out of turn?
Not now. I figured out you keep spewing lots of radish stew about yourself, we can't.
I knew I shouldn't have let you in.
You didn't let me in. I snuck in because it turns out I'm pretty darn good sometimes. You like having me around you.
Around may not be the preposition I'd use for where I like you best, But I do regretfully treasure your presence regardless.
Needless to say, Adder couldn't even begin to decipher the sentence, but he understood that her tone betrayed a smile despite everything. This still wasn't enough to quiet Sep's inquisitive nature, however.
Do you really want to be honest? Then stop using my feelings to deflect talking about yours for a moment. There may not be an appropriate reaction to finding out that beasts exist and your boss works for them, but I know you can't be taking this nearly as well as you pretend you are.
I don't know. I don't know how to feel when she lets me in on whatever's going on. Anything between this and that just goes in the little box of things I can't be thinking about.
Something tells me it's not precisely little.
That something got anything to do with me giving some grand friggin' speech to the whole city while I was busy running up and down your thoughts?
Maybe, but we're talking about you now.
I gotta believe that the only thing that's changed is that she ain't my boss proper no more, now that her pa sacked me. Whoever and whatever she is, she's still the person I admire the most in Dakna. I gotta believe in her, like she believed in me. She's my best friend in the world, no matter what.
A tiny smidge of light, a single gleam in the distance, grew larger and brighter as they approached the end of the sewers. Fresh air, a bright sky, and the brave Alar Sea waited beyond their torment. White soon turned to blue, and white again as Eina's arm waved at them from the other side of the conspicuously bent grill at the end of the tunnel.
That a good enough answer for you?
It will have to do for now. You've given me much to think about.
Adder tilted his head, confused about the way she trailed off at the end. But no follow-up to that thought ever came. An ancient seawall crowned by a ruined lighthouse framed the view of the fierce waters below and the serene skies above, a distant memory of a time where lost seafaring techniques carried vessels away from the shoreline. Adder eagerly trudged those last few steps that separated them from a certain death in the waves of the high tide sea and into Eina's arms.
Boss! I'm so proud of you! That was amazing!
Eina's tail started wagging at full speed behind her, equally happy to see him and to receive whatever compliments she could get after such a long day. The excitement sparking between the master and apprentice didn't last long, for it soon became Adder's turn to use their one brain cell.
You could have clued us in on your plan back there, you know. What if we'd gotten lost along the way? That wasn't no plan. You just got mad we weren't paying attention to you, so you punched a wall and then rolled with it.
Eina helped Adder up with a final heave, a half hug, and a non-committal smile.
Well, I sure as hey ain't fixing that hole for you.
Adder took both hands to his face and sighed. It was then he noticed that he'd gotten drenched hugging Eina.
Oh, boss! You all right? You're soaked to the bone! Sheesh, even your tips are getting all faded now.
Adder was going to pat Eina's head dry when a thought struck him.
How'd that happen exactly?
Eina pointed down to the tunnel they just came out from, and then back at the ground below them. She marched in place, covering her head, crouched down, and then sprung back to her feet, mimicking the extraordinary act of swimming in the air. She finished her act, casting an expectant look in Adder's direction, tail still wagging behind her.
Good job, boss. Had a girl.
Satisfied with her reward, Aina started rummaging through her belt bags. After a short search, she produced the blue and white fabric she'd been wearing since the previous night and presented it to Adder.
Do me a favor and hold on to that till I need it.
A little help here? I'd rather not drown in a sewage exit if it's all the same to you.
Aina and Adder both leaned over the edge of the wall to help Sepp up. It's not like Aina really needed the assistance. She was strong enough to lift 8 to 12 Sepps. But Adder felt the extraordinary urge to make sure his little threat of a boss wouldn't drop the gazelle back into the water as a prank or something. At last, the three of them stood atop the wall. Like a promise of a new day, a chilly breeze blew behind them, carrying their woes towards the endless horizon.
See? I keep telling y'all there's always a way to make things right, and you never believe me.
I'll make sure to set my skepticism aside for you, if we're still alive tomorrow.
Yeah, don't hallucinate till you're out of the woods.
Aina nodded resolutely, like she had any idea what that phrase meant.
We ought to get moving. Ain't no way of knowing how long those things are going to be chasing Aina. I don't even want to imagine what they're going to think of me eloping with y'all's dad.
The smith smirked and started gesturing something that Adder couldn't slap down fast enough.
There is no point in making baseless conjectures. The sooner we react, the better indeed. Our next move could prove critical for the future of the city.
Our? Hold up. You coming with us? Like, of your own condition?
Volition?
You ain't ditching us?
Wow. You really think I care so little about the city I was raised in and its poor defenseless people?
Adder squinted his one eye at her.
I go where the sister of the captain goes, of course.
Aina bared her teeth at Sepp, trying to push her off.
Aw, what's wrong? You have a complicated relationship with your family too, little beast girl. Boop. Adder! Adder, look! Boop, boop! It's like messing with a kid. I don't even have to try to make her mad.
If you don't quit that right now, I'm the one who's gonna flip out. Heads on the game, all right?
Aw, look what you've done, Aina. Here comes the big boar bro.
Sip, focus! It's our necks on the line here. Do we agree we gotta warn everyone then?
Sepp moved her eyes lazily from her little game poking Aina's nose and trying not to get her finger bitten off, to Adder, who looked about ready to expedite the process.
Who does everyone entail exactly? Do you have a feasible plan this time? Or are you just set on running around the city screaming like a madman about the end of the world until you run out of breath?
No, of course not. That'd be dumb. I know better than anyone. This is way above our pay grade. The city guard should be taking care of it.
Those buffoons either didn't realize they had beasts hiding in their ranks, or they let them run free amongst their own. But if you want to try your luck with Elbar after ruining any future the two of us had together on top of that, please don't let me stop you.
Well, in my defense, if it wasn't for today, we wouldn't know about the wolves in the first place. You think Lord Snotty Snout was in on this?
I may have fared better if he was some kind of conspirator, but alas, he's too self-absorbed to be capable of such evil. Beasts could have spent moons handing out bribes right under his nose, and he wouldn't have had the faintest idea.
I would have known, was the idea Sepp left unspoken.
Who's left then?
Adder put both hands on his temples, trying to juice his grey matter into greyish ideas. Sepp closed her eyes thoughtfully. Aina put a hand on her chin, so as not to be left out. Oh yeah, Illigrab.
What about Illigrab?
He's too skeptical. There's no way he would believe us.
It's still worth the try, right? It's either him or the patron at this point, and I'd rather go with the one that ain't burning.
At least that particular flavor of crazy old man makes himself easy enough to find. Illigrab could be anywhere in the city.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. We'll just have to wash up on the beach, disguise ourselves, and go asking around town. Someone's bound to know where he is sooner or later.
Suddenly cross about something no one other than Adder could hope to understand, Aina started shaking her head and cutting the air emphatically with her arms.
What's wrong, boss? You don't think it's a good plan?
She bit her lip, trying to piece together a clearer way to express her thoughts. She pulled on her shirt, wrapped one fist around the other next to her heart, and then tapped on her nose quickly.
These clothes stink so much it makes you want to throw up.
I think she's signing the beasts can smell us, but not just smell us. They can smell chest. No, heart? That make a single lick of sense to you?
Seb's mouth hung agape as she finally understood what Aina was trying to communicate.
They can scent the Hatsa.
And that means...
It means they can scent the Hatsa! Just how do you know that, Aina? Why are you so sure about that?
Because she's a beast herself? Aina's eyes narrowed into mere lines.
Well, they ain't found her for one, so whatever it is that is, she must be onto something.
Seb shot a glare in Adder's direction. She had no actual retort to this logic that wouldn't result in at least a half hour of arguing, however.
Fine, that's not the concerning part. If what she's saying is true, that would mean they're capable of perceiving our very soul through their sense of smell. They could be magnitudes better at navigating a current than we could ever hope to be.
Adder joined Aina in nodding non-committally, as if either of them got any of that. Seb sighed, with violence.
Imagine you could smell the waves about leaves in the sea when the wind blows in your direction.
Yeah, no, that's impossible.
No, it's not. Every action we take shapes both our connection to the Hatsa and that of those intersecting with us, which in turn shifts the Hatsa itself in infinitesimal ways we cannot even start to perceive or measure. That's the very essence of Sephihet.
You're at a level 10 of sepness right now. I need you to come down 2.
The gazelle made a brief choking motion with her hands.
If you don't want your Hatsa read through your gaze, you can close your eyes, yes. But you can't do that with your smell. There's no actual way to change or erase the unique essence your blood gives off, only make it less noticeable.
So they can't smell where her thoughts are, because the sewers sink more than the sea.
It was Seb's turn to stare blankly at Adder. There was almost a sense of wonder in her eyes, really. It was a look that told him she was asking herself the important question, how could I ever think associating with you was a sound idea?
Potentially, yes. Now, suppose strong smells actually confuse them. I hope you understand that I'm not willing to spend the rest of my miserable existence bathing in sewage on the off chance this pipsqueak is not making stuff up. Which finally takes me back to the original point I wanted to make. If Aina thinks this stench is our disguise, wouldn't it make more sense for us to hide using a scent that didn't remind them of the place we just escaped from?
Aina and Adder looked at Seb. Then they looked at each other. They huddled up a few steps away as Aina started signing and making quiet noises.
No, she kind of got a point there, boss. What? I ain't taking nobody's side. I'm just saying that... Hey, what's that supposed to mean? Don't call me names.
Adder finally emerged from their little coven, wiggling his fingers with apprehension.
So, here's the thing, Sip. You may not have noticed because you lived here your whole life surrounded by fancy perfume and delicious soap, but coming all the way up from Chancery, I can promise you this one thing. The first thing you notice when you walk into Heirloom ain't the walls, ma'am. The city don't smell like roses. However, we diggity do agree this is the grossest thing either of us has gone through in a good long while, and I got no intention to let the one decent set of pants I own stay dyed green-brown for the rest of my stay here. If we want to find the middle point between our safety and our decency while we weather out the storm, we gotta make sure we're still blended in after washing up. And we can only do that
Please say something intelligent.
in a place that smells worse than we do.
Why? Why would you reach that conclusion? If all we need is to disguise ourselves, we may as well douse our bodies in spice and jump into a temple. They won't be able to tell either way.
Sure thing, Your Majesty. Name one shop in the city where 3 weirdos covered in crap can ask for a whole bucket of spices to jump in. How about I do you one up and help you find a good fire pit to save the beast the trouble of cooking that marinade?
I did not say it was a feasible idea. I was simply stating the fact there are better ones out there. We don't even need to change our scent too much from the usual, right? You usually smell like ash. Why don't we go hide in Anna's forge?
I mean, the smoke would be a real nice way to hide us, if it weren't for the fact that pyres tend to attract a lot of guards. But if you're so desperate to go back to smelling like flowers, we could always go and hide in the desert rose like we used to. I bet Miss Rochelle's gonna be real happy to see you in good company. Ain't she now?
Has anybody ever mentioned how lowly your rhetoric is?
If they have, I sure as hey didn't understand. So, there's the plan, ma'am. All in favor of finding a grid enough place where a bunch of beasts can't eat us and hide till we have a better plan, please raise your hands.
Adder raised one of his ridiculous hands. Aina raised both to match. Seb took a hand to her face. Can we interpret that as her raising a hand?
The masses have spoken. All that's left is finding the place then.
All right. I think we'll continue from here in the next episode and see what kind of a place they find. This is getting pretty interesting. Right. For now, thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you again next time.